Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrit. We have been reading from the Madhya Lila, and we shall be beginning our reading from verse number 59 of the first chapter. We've been reading about all the literatures left by the Goswamis, and Prabhupada has kindly told us that what does each of those literatures they contain in them, like we read about the Shat Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami and what each of the Sandarbhas stands for, and similarly Nectar of Devotion. And let's continue. Verse number 59. Mukam karati vachalam pangum langhate girim yat kripatamam bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsa. Verse 59 from chapter 1 of the Madhya Lila of Sri Caitanya Charitamrit. Aish lokera arth jane ekala swarupa daive se vatsara tahan giya chena rupa. This verse appears to be the hankering between some ordinary boy and girl, but its actually deep meaning was known only to Swarup Damodar. By 1 year, Rupa Goswami was also present there. And as we know, Swarup Damodar was the private secretary of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, personal secretary rather, and I'm not very sure he was either Lalita or Vishakha from the Ashsakhis. So very, very close associates from the Krishna Lila. They're all surrounding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Lila as well, in the God Lila. Verse 60, Prabhu Mukhya Loka Shuni Shri Rupa Gosani Sai Shlokera Artha Shloka Karila Tathai. Although the meaning of the verse was known only to Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, after hearing it from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately composed another verse that described the meaning of the original verse. Verse 61, Shloka kari eka tale patrete likhiya apana vasara chale rakhila kunjiya. After composing this verse, Rupa Goswami wrote it on a palm leaf and put it on the roof of the thatched house in which he was living. Verse 62, Shloka rakhi gela samudra snana karite hena kale aila prabhu tanhare milite. After composing the verse and putting it on the roof of his house, Srila Rupa Goswami went to bathe in the sea. In the meantime, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his hut to meet him. And yes, and in the last reading we also read the shloka, or rather the song which Mahaprabhu used to sing in the afternoon, and especially in front of the Jagannath Rath Yatra, in front of Lord Jagannath. Verse 63, Haridas Thakur ar Rupa Sanatan Jagannath Mandire Naya Ana Tina Jana. To avoid turmoil, three great personalities, Haridas Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami, did not enter the temple of Jagannath. Purport: it is still the practice at Jagannath temple not to allow those to enter who do not strictly follow the Vedic culture known as Hinduism. Haridas Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami had previous intimate connections with Muslims. Haridas Thakur had been born in a Muslim family, and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami, having given up their social status in Hindu society, had been appointed ministers in the Muslim government. They had even changed their names to Dabira Khasa and Sakara Malik. Thus they had supposedly been expelled from Brahman society. Consequently, out of humility, they did not enter the temple of Jagannath, although the personality of Godhead Jagannath in his form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came to see them every day. Similarly, the members of this Krishna Consciousness Society are sometimes refused entrance into some of the temples in India We should not feel sorry about this as long as we engage in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna himself associates with devotees who are chanting his holy name, and there is no need to be unhappy for not being able to enter a certain temple. Such dogmatic prohibitions were not approved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those who were thought unfit to enter the Jagannath temple were daily visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this indicates that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve of the prohibitions. To avoid unnecessary turmoil, however, these great personalities would not enter the Jagannath temple. Verse 64, Mahaprabhu Jagannathera upala bhoga dekhiya nij grihe ya ana ei tinere miliya. Every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to see the Upala Bhoga ceremony at the temple of Jagannath, and after seeing this, he used to go visit these three great personalities on his way to his own residence. Purport. As you all know, the purports are given by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So he has been so kind for the humanity at large that he took all the trouble to write these purports for us, because without these purports, I don't think we would understand much. And then again, when we hear the classes of the senior and advanced devotees who have studied these, who have actually churned the meanings of these shlokas, that increases our knowledge and increases our understanding and love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Upala Bhog is a particular type of offering performed just behind the Garuda Stambha on a stone slab. That stone slab is called the Upala. All food is offered within the temple room just below the altar of Jagannath. This bhoga, however, was offered on the stone slab within the vision of the public. Therefore, it is called Upala Bhoga. So, had Srila Prabhupada not explained it here, unless we are Odia speaking or Bengali speaking persons, we would have no idea that what does that mean. So it's all thanks to Srila Prabhupada for making everything accessible to everyone everywhere. Verse number 65, Etina madhye yabe thake ye jana tanre asi apane mile prabhura niyama. If one of these three was not present, he would meet the others. That was his regular practice. Verse number 66. Daive asi prabhu yabe urdhvete chaila chale gonja tale patre se shloka paila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the residence of Srila Rupa Goswami, he accidentally saw the palm leaf on the roof, and thus he read the verse composed by him. So how lucky or how glorious the Goswami's existence is, that the verse which Rupa Goswami has composed and he had just put on the rooftop of his thatched hut, Mahaprabhu came and he saw that verse and he read it. So these are not ordinary personalities, they are personalities from the transcendental world who came here on this earth along with Mahaprabhu to bless the jivas of Kali Yuga, and that we know as well is in a special cycle of the yugas. Not in each Kali Yuga Mahaprabhu and his associates come to bless the people of Kali Yuga, and it is this Kali Yuga which we are currently going through. In this Kali Yuga, almost 550 years ago, Mahaprabhu's advent was there in the West Bengal, in Nadia, Mayapur. Verse number 67, Shloka padi ache prabhu avishta ha iya, Rupa Gosani asi pade dandavat hana. Was it Heina? I don't know. So if you are a Bengali speaking person, please excuse my pronunciation there. Translation: after reading the verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into an ecstatic mood. While he was in that state, Srila Rupa Goswami came and immediately fell down on the floor like a rod. Purport: the word danda means rod or a pole, and a rod or a pole fall straight. Similarly, when one offers obeisances to his superior with all 8 angas, that is the parts of the body, he performs what is called dandavat. So that particular obeisance, when somebody is lying straight on the ground, just like a danda or a pole or a rod, it's called dandavat. He performs what is called dandavats. Sometimes we only speak of dandavats but actually do not fall down. In any case, dandavat means falling down like a rod before one's superior, and most of us are guilty of that in this Kali Yuga. We just say, and I don't think we literally mean, or we do the action, or even have the bhav. Bhagwan is bhavagrahi Janardana, and I don't know, are we giving that kind of respect to the seniors or even to the Supreme Personality and his associates when we are paying our obeisances by just saying or doing it as in action. Now let's move on to the next verse, which is number 68. Uthi Mahāprabhu Tanre Chapada Maria. Or is it Kapada Maria? Chapada Maria. Because I think it's quite similar in some other languages as well. It says, it means slapping. Kahite lagila kichu kolete kariya. When Rupa Goswami fell down like a rod, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu got up and gave him a slap. Then taking him on his lap, he began to speak to him. So that was a affectionate slap from Mahāprabhu to Rupa Goswami. Mora shlokera abhipraya na jane kaun jane, mora manera katha tumi janile ke mane. Mahāprabhu said, no one knows the purport of my verse. Chaitanya Mahāprabhu said, how could you understand my intention? Verse 70, Eta bali tanare bahu prasad kariya swarupa gosanire shloka dekhaila lena. Saying this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed various benedictions upon Rupa Goswami, and taking the verse, he later showed it to Swarup Goswami. Verse 71, Swarupe puchena prabhu haya vismite mora manera katha rupa janila kemate. Having shown the verse to Swarup Damodar with great wonder, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him how Rupa Goswami could understand the intentions of his mind. Purport: we had the opportunity to receive the similar blessings from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Prabhupada is saying here in his purport, when we presented an essay at his birthday ceremony, he was so pleased with that essay that he used to call some of his more confidential devotees and show it to them. How could we have understood the intentions of Srila Prabhupada? So the teacher is always delighted to see the progress or the intentions of his student, disciple in this case here. The knowledge always increases. It says in Shastras, when we share with others, the only way to strengthen what you have learned is to share with others. That is the only way it's going to sort of get stamped in our consciousness. If we just keep it to ourselves and don't revise it and don't share with others, it will not benefit anyone. It will just stay with us, and that is not why God has actually given us this human birth. Verse 72, Swarup kahe yate janila tomar mana tate jani hai tomar kripar bhajana. Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami replied to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if Rupa Goswami can understand your mind and intentions, he must have your Lordship's special benediction. Verse 73, Prabhu kahe tare ami santusht hena alingana kailo sarva shakti sanchariya. The Lord said, I was so pleased with Rupa Goswami that I embraced him and bestowed him upon upon him all necessary potencies for preaching the bhakti cult. So that loving slap of Mahaprabhu has actually been kind of benediction. Extra benedictions have been given to Rupa Goswami by Mahaprabhu once Mahaprabhu read the verse composed by Rupa Goswami. Verse 74, Yogya Patra Haya Gudha Rasa Vivechane Tumiyo Kahiyo Tare Gudha Rasakhyane. Akhyane means describing. Rasa is the mellows, Gudha is confidential, as we know. Translation, I accept Srila Rupa Goswami as quite fit to understand the confidential mellows of devotional service, and I recommend that you explain devotional service to him further. Verse 75, E saba kahiba age vistar karina sankshepe uddesha kaila prastava paina. I shall describe all these incidents elaborately later on. Now I have given only a brief reference. Verse 76, Priya so ayam Krishna sahachari kurukshetra militas tathaham sa radha tad idam ubhayoh sangama sukham tathapi antah khelan madhura murali panchama jushe mano me kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihati. This is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani, my dear friend. Now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Yamunas beneath the tree of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of this sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So this verse spoken by Radharani, as it says in the purport, Prabhupada tells that this verse also appears in the Padyavali 387, an anthology of verses compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. So a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani is there in Padyavali 387 and also in Caitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila Chapter 1, verse 76. So I would like to repeat this verse again, because how many times you have this great fortune of reading a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani, who is none other than the internal potency of Lord Shri Krishna. So the verse goes like this. Verse 76 of the first chapter from Madhya Lila Caitanya Charitamrita, spoken by Srimati Radharani, given to us by Rupa Goswami. Priya so ayam Krishna sahachari kurukshetra militas tathaham sash radha tad idam ubhayoh sangam sukham tathapi antah khelan madhura murali panchama jushe manobe kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihati. So let's read the word-to-word meaning of this verse to have some more knowledge of this verse. Priya is very dear, Saha he, I am this. Krishna, Lord Krishna, Sahachari, O my dear friend. Kurukshetra Milita, who is met on the field of Kurukshetra. Tatha also, Aham I. Sa, that. Radha is Radharani. Tat, that. Idam, this. Ubhayo, of both of us. Sangam Sukham, the happiness of meeting. Tatha api, still. Antah, within. Kelan, playing. Madhura, sweet. Murali, of the flute. Panchama, the fifth note. Jushe, which delights in. Manaha, the mind. Me, my. Kalindi, of the river Yamuna. Pulina, on the bank. Vipinaya, the trees. Spriyati is desires. So the translation, let's read that again. This is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani, my dear friend. Now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of a sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So sorry, it's not written by Rupa Goswami. So Krishnaraj, Kaviraj Goswami has given us in Madhya Lila, and also it is there in Padyavali 387. And sorry, that is again compiled by Rupa Goswami. So we should all make note of this verse. This is very important. There's not much said by or written about Srimati Radharani in most of the scriptures. So wherever we find anything, I think we should treasure it and try to understand it as much as we can, because that is going to make Krishna so much happy, as we know. Verse 77 of the first chapter of Madhya Lila. Ei shlokera sankshepartha shuna bhakta gana Jagannath teki yaiche prabhura bhavana. Now, O devotees, please hear a brief explanation of this verse. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking in this way after having seen the Jagannath deity. So these were the emotions which were, what do we say? What's the right word to use? I'm quite, I'm in a big dilemma. What word to use there? So we will just say these were the emotions coming to Mahaprabhu when he was thinking of the verse. So let's see, what is that? Shri Radhika Kurukshetra Krishnera Darshana Yadyapi Payana Tabu Bhavina Aichana. So the meaning goes like this. The subject of his thoughts was Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. Although she met Krishna there, she was nonetheless thinking of him in the following way. Verse 79. Rajavesha haiti ghoda manushya gehna kahan gopavesha kahan nirjana vrindavana. She thought of him in the calm and quiet atmosphere of Vrindavan, dressed as a cowherd boy, but at Kurukshetra he was in a royal dress and was accompanied by elephants, horses and crowds of men. Thus the atmosphere was not congenial for their meeting. Verse number 80. Sai bhava sai Krishna sai Vrindavana yabe paye Krishna hai vanchita purana. Thus meeting with Krishna and thinking of the Vrindavan atmosphere, Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in that calm atmosphere. Verse 81. Ahushchate nalina nabha padaravindam yogeshwarair ridhi vichintayam agadha bodhay samsara kupa patito taranavlambam geham jusham api manasi udiyat sada naha. Adu is, the gopi said. Nalinab is a lord whose navel is just like lotus flower. Padaravindam is of course lotus flower. Yogeshwara is the great mystic yogis. Riddhi within the heart. Vichintayam to be meditated upon. Agad Bodhai who were highly learned philosophers. Samsara Kupa, the dark well of material existence. So the Kup is same in Sanskrit, Hindi and in Bengali. This is, I think, Sanskrit, of course, not Bengali. And Patit is of those fallen, Uttaran of deliverers, Avalambam, the only shelter, Geham, family affairs, Jusham of those engaged, Api, although Manasi, in the minds, Udiya, to be awakened, Sada, always, and Naha, hour. Our translation goes like this. The gopi spoke thus, Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly great learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. In the purport, Prabhupada says that this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 82nd chapter, verse number 48. As we know, canto 10 is very big It comes right in the middle of the Srimad Bhagavatam when we are reading it. So it is also called the heart of the Bhagavatam. Verse number 82. Tomar charan mora vraj pura ghare uday karaye yadi tabe vancha pure. The gopis thought, dear Lord, if your lotus feet again come to our home in Vrindavan, our desires will be fulfilled. Purport: in this Anubhashya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments, the gopis are purely engaged in the service of the Lord without motive. They are not captivated by the opulence of Krishna, nor by the understanding that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Naturally, the gopis were inclined to love Krishna, for he was an attractive young boy of Vrindavan village. Being village girls, they were not very much attracted to the field of Kurukshetra, where Krishna was present with elephants, horses, and royal dress. Indeed, they did not very much appreciate Krishna in that atmosphere. Krishna was not attracted by the opulence or personal beauty of the gopis, but by their pure devotional service. Similarly, the gopis were attracted to Krishna as a cowherd boy, not in sophisticated guise. Lord Krishna is inconceivably powerful. To understand him, great yogis and saintly persons give up all material engagements and meditate upon him. Similarly, those who were overly attracted to material enjoyment, to enhancement of material opulence, to family maintenance, or to liberation from the entanglements of this material world, take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But such activities and motivations are unknown to the gopis. They are not at all expert in executing such auspicious activities. Already transcendentally enlightened, they simply engage their purified senses in the service of the Lord in the remote village of Vrindavan. The gopis are not interested in dry speculation in the arts and music or other conditions of material life. They are bereft of all understanding of material enjoyment and renunciation. Their only desire is to see Krishna return and enjoy spiritual transcendental pastimes with them. The gopis want him simply to stay in Vrindavan so that they can render service unto him for his pleasure. There is not even a tinge of personal sense gratification. So this is what Krishna actually wants from us. He just wants pure devotional service from us. We shouldn't be desiring this, that, for our own comfort, for our own selfish desires, but everything should be what we are asking from Krishna, or what we're doing in our lives. If we can align with the desire of Krishna, then Krishna is going to fulfill everything. Krishna fulfills everyone's desire, whether they are in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, or mode of goodness, or in bhakti. And bhakti he definitely fulfills. He fulfills in all the modes though. So why he's not going to fulfill if we are going to do even a little bhakti? We might start with the Yoga Mishra Bhakti, because this is how our existence is. We don't know pure bhakti. But when we start from the Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one day, like Mahāprabhu read the verse written by Rupa Goswami on his thatched hut rooftop, he will also hear the inner desires from in the cores of her heart, in whichever service, however small, menial, big or large, we are trying to do. Like Prabhupada used to say, menial services are very dear to Krishna. So if you have to do menial services for Krishna, whether it's in your home, temple, or outside, don't feel bad, because Krishna is watching everything, whatever we are doing. He's going to take the account. He's like an examiner who is watching. This is our exam room. This world is our exam room, and our examiner is watching us constantly through the CCTV. Or is it through the eyes of the Chitragupt, one can say. And everything is taken account of. What might seem insignificant in our service in this life to Lord Krishna might matter a lot in Lord's eyes. So we shouldn't get disheartened or feel something in our heart that, oh, my service is not big, or my bhav is not enough You never know, your simple bhav can attract Lord much more than a complicated, commentary written by somebody, or somebody who is just trying to understand a lot of things and who is not sharing with others. So do share whatever you learn, and be in your own bhav. It's better to be serving in your own bhav, whether it's good or bad, rather than trying to copy somebody else's bhav, which you don't even understand, because you don't know what is their bhav of doing what they are doing. So verse 83 goes like this: Bhagvatera shloka gurartha vishad karina rupa gosani shloka kaila loka bujhaina. Bujhaina, like we say in Hindi, bujna, and to understand. In one verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has explained the confidential meaning of the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for the understanding of the general populace. So, how glorious is that? Verse 84 of the first chapter of Madhya Lila, of this Caitanya Charitamrita. Yate lila rasa parimalodgari vanya parita dhanya kshani vilasati vrita madhuribhi tatra mabhis chatula pashupi bhava mugdha antarabhih samvitas tvam kalay Vadonolasi Venur Viharam. So we can see this verse is not easy for someone who is not well versed in Sanskrit, who has only read Sanskrit for a few years, not to in way back in the school. So it's quite a tongue twister. Let's read all the synonyms of this verse. Ya is that, te your, lila rasa of the mellows tasted in the pastimes, parimal is the fragrance, udgari spreading, Vanya aparita, filled with forests, Dhanya glorious, Kshani the land, Vilasati enjoys, Vrita surrounded, Mathuri the Mathura district. So I was wondering what does Mathuri means. Mathuri is the Mathura district. Madhuribhi the beauties, Tatra there, Asmabhi by us. Chatula is flickering. Pashupi Bhav with the ecstatic enjoyment as gopis. Mugdha Antarabhi by those whose hearts are enchanted. Samvitaha surrounded. Tvam you Kalay kindly perform. Or is it Kalay? Is it Kalay? Kindly perform. Vadana on the mouth. Ullasi praying. Venu with the flute. Vitharam playing playful pastimes. The translation goes like this. The gopis continued, Dear Krishna, the fragrance of the mellows of your pastimes is spread throughout the forest of the glorious land of Vrindavan, which is surrounded by the sweetness of the district of Mathura. In the congenial atmosphere of that wonderful land, you may enjoy your pastimes with your flute dancing on your lips, and surrounded by us the gopis, whose hearts are always enchanted by unpredictable ecstatic emotions. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that this is a verse from the Lalit Madhav 10.38 by Srila Rupa Goswami. Verse 85. E mata Mahāprabhu dekhi Jagannathe, Subhadra sahite dekhe vamshi nahi hate. In this way, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath, he saw that the Lord was with his sister Subhadra and was not holding a flute in his hand. Verse 86. Tribhanga Sundara Vraje Vrajendra Nandana Kahan Pava Ei Vancha Bade Anukshana. Absorbed in the ecstasy of the gopis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wished to see Lord Jagannath in his original form as Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, standing in Vrindavan and appearing very beautiful. His body curved in 3 places. His desire to see that form was always increasing. So isn't it amazing that Krishna himself wants to see himself now? So this is where Madhya Lila is heading us to. Verse 87, Radhika Unmad Yaiche Uddhava Darshane Udghurna Pralap Taiche Prabhura Ratri Dine. Just as Srimati Radharani talked inconsistently with the bumblebee in the presence of Uddhava, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu in his ecstasy talked crazily and inconsistently day and night. Purport: the Unmad or the madness is not ordinary madness. When Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu talked inconsistently, almost like a crazy fellow, he was in the transcendental ecstasy of love. In the highest transcendental ecstasy, there is feeling of being enchanted in the presence of the enchanter. When the enchanter and the enchanted become separated, mohana or bewilderment occurs. When so bewildered due to separation, one becomes stunned, and at that time all the bodily symptoms of transcendental ecstasy are manifested. When they are manifest, one appears inconceivably crazy. This is called transcendental madness. In this state, there is imaginative discourse, and one experiences emotions like those of madman. The madness of Srimati Radharani was explained to Krishna by Uddhav, who said, "My dear Krishna, because of extreme feelings of separation from you, Srimati Radharani is sometimes making her bed in the groves of the forest, sometimes rebuking a bluish cloud, and sometimes wandering about in the dense darkness of the forest. Thus she has become like a crazy woman." Verse 88, Dvadash Vatsara Shesha Aiche Gunaila Emata Shesha Lila Tri Vidhane Kaila. In the last 12 years of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, the last 12 years of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu were passed in this transcendental craziness. Thus he executed his last pastimes in 3 ways. So let's read the last verse of today's reading, verse 89. Sanyaskari 26 Vatsara Kaila Ye Karma Ananta Apar Tar Ke Janibe Marma. For the 24 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu accepted the renounced order, whatever pastimes he executed were unlimited and unfathomable. Who can understand the purport of such pastimes? So we shall continue our reading next time from verse 90 onwards. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna. Wish you all a very blissful week ahead.